I'm going to take you through one of the dishes that we cook in our intermediate term fish demonstrations and that students then cook in class. This will give you an idea of how we teach and the way our demonstrations run. The dish that I'm going to be preparing is pan-fried mackerel with beetroot, dill yogurt and radishes. And some of the skills that we're going to be covering are the filleting and pan-frying of a round fish, some vegetable preparation along with some knife skills and some thought about seasoning. One of the key elements that we want students to be able to learn while they're at the school is how to work in a professional and organised manner. That starts before you even begin cooking a recipe. So let's have a look at the ingredients we have and the order that we're going to approach this in. I think one of the things that students often talk about, having been through the school, is the quality of ingredients that they get to work with. It's not only the variety of recipes that they cover, but also the new ingredients and the variety that they're exposed to while at the school. Here's a selection of what I'm going to be using for this recipe. The first ingredient that I'm going to talk to you about is the beetroot that we're using. These are baby beetroot and they have come in their raw state. So they have gone into a foil parcel and into the oven, a little bit of seasoning in there, a splash of water, and they take about 30 to 35, 40 minutes to cook through, just until a knife pierces them relatively easily and that they are becoming tender all the way through. They've been left to cool and then they've had their skins peeled off. Purple ones here, a pair of gloves on your hands just so that they don't stain your fingers. I have got some golden beetroot here just as an alternative and should look really nice on the plate as part of the dish as well. So I'm just going to quarter or cut into eighths the purple variety, and I'm going to slice nice and thinly into rounds the golden variety. So I'm just going to take the ends off these and then into nice neat rounds ready for the plate. So knife skills is something we definitely get going with right from the start. First few days of the diploma is a real focus on knife skills, and this leads through all of the cooking we do, and particularly in our demonstrations. For the shallot, I'm going to slice this into fairly fine rounds, and this is going to go into a little pickle of vinegar, sugar and a little bit of water, and it just needs to be heated and the shallots to go in and left to take on the flavour of the vinegar. The radish has just been given a little bit of a wash, and I'm going to take the end off, and again I'm just going to cut into nice little rounds. You could choose to use a mandolin for something like this, but good practice for your knife skills, just to try and get everything as even as possible. This is one of the two herbs that we're using. It is lovage. It needs its leaves picking, and we're going to finely slice this. It's a member of the celery family. It's quite a pungent herb, and you don't really want big leaves on the plate, so I'm going to just cut it nice and small. I'm going to cut it as a chiffonade, so just folding it over on itself and then into some fine little strips, just to kind of disperse the flavour that it's going to give to the plate. Okay, the dill, I'm going to just pick off the thicker stalks, taking the finer leaves, and we're just going to cross chop this, so break it down again into nice sort of small pieces. Try not to bruise the herb too much, which is the reason we sometimes chiffonade, but this one can go a little finer if needed. It's going to get stirred through the yoghurt and it's going to provide another flavour onto our plate. To highlight, we've looked at a few different knife skills. This provides refinement for our food and the presentation side of our plate. We've looked at some different textures, so I've got some raw and I've got some cooked. And the ingredients in front of me provides different seasonings for the plate. All of this is part of preparation and a mise en place before we begin the actual cooking of our fish. With the vegetables prepped, we can now move on to the fish part of the recipe, and I'm going to show you the preparation of a mackerel and filleting of that fish. One of the key things in demonstrations that we do here at Leith is to try and give you those core techniques, to allow you to sit and watch as we fillet, as we butcher, as we prepare knife skills wise and so forth. Those skills, those building blocks that we pass over to you, you then take up into the kitchen and you cover those in a variety of recipes. It's not necessarily just watch them, go up to kitchens and cook. Things are dispersed throughout the terms and then they are built upon as the course progresses. I have a beautifully fresh mackerel sitting here in front of me. In our fish demonstration, we will go through and we'll look at the ways that we would tell that this fish is fresh. Eyes are nice and bright, the flesh is firm, the gills are deep red that we're in here. So all really good indications, and that sort of theory side is what we can get across to you, and that will form part of the assessment that you cover during the course here with us. I'm going to start just by removing a couple of fins just so that they don't get into the way as I am filleting this. A round fish such as mackerel, it's going to have 2 fillets to take off as opposed to a flat fish which would have 4. Flat fish wise, we tend to start in the foundation term with flat fish. It's a little bit easier actually as a skill to fillet. Round fish are a touch harder, which is why we would cover it in the intermediate term. But we look at cooking of whole fish and so forth in the intermediate and the foundation term as well. I'm going to look at taking this fillet, the upper one here, off first. I've got a nice sharp fish knife, flexible, and I'm going to just start by making a couple of guide cuts, one towards the head where the fillet ends, one at the tail, and then just turn the fish. A little bit of pressure from my hand just to keep the flesh nice and taut, and then just use that knife gliding backwards all the way. Get a little bit going and then in again, just lift up, try and see what you're doing in there. Listen for that little rasping noise, which is your knife against the bone. Really great sign that you're removing all of the flesh. And then through the pin bones, you'll hear a little crack, and then just fill it off down the other side, removing all of that flesh around the belly area. Nice, smooth, clean knife strokes so that the finish on the fish is as clean and nice as possible. And then get the shape of the fillet, and that's the first one done. So onto the other side. Same technique again. I'm going to go into tail this time just so that I'm filleting towards my body. Start off just cutting along, and then we'll just turn slightly, lift up, and then get that fillet going once again. Make my little cut across the head end there, and then let's just finish that off. Okay. And then the second fillet is off as well. With the 2 fillets removed from the fish, we need to just finish off cleaning them up. So a little bit of the belly here, casing wise, that we can just get under, and at the same time just checking that there are no bones from the belly left on the fish, and then we can just clean that bottom part up as well. And then we can think about removing the pin bones that run down the center of the fish. They're the lateral supports for the fish. If I run my finger from head to tail, they're going to stand up and I'm going to feel them. They're running around the belly area. That's where they need supporting of the fish. To remove it on a mackerel, we're going to go through a technique called V-boning, and I'm just going to run my knife, almost using the weight of the knife, down the length of the fillet, angling into the bottom of the bone one side, angle down the other side. Skill is not to cut through the skin at the bottom. If we just pick up the fish at this end, and I should just be able to get the peel going, and we just peel out that strip all the way down. Make sure we've gone through the flesh properly there. We're not going to damage the flesh, and that whole piece comes away with the bones. Although there's a little bit of a gap there, as it cooks it will close up. Always have a quick look at the head end here. Sometimes there's a bone sticking forward, but this feels absolutely fine. Same on the other one now. That's our 2 fillets taken from our mackerel, our round fish, and these are now ready for pan frying. With the pan on the heat, I'm going to season the fillets with a little bit of salt and some pepper. And then these can go into the pan to start pan frying. We have a variety of in-house demos here at the school, all with sort of varying backgrounds. But one of the things we try and do also is to bring in industry professionals, people from the school who have maybe gone on and done different things, and that come back and talk to students about their experience and how they furthered themselves once they had left. It might be, from the celebrity chef side, or it might also be from a sort of specific, skills from chocolate specialists or patisserie specialists. All our students therefore get a broad range of teaching, both in-house and from industry specialists. So we need to have a little look at the fish on the skin side here. I'm just wanting some crispiness to it. When you have fish fillets with skin on, it's usually best to try and crisp up that skin and do most of the cooking on the skin side. It protects the sort of delicate flesh that is above. You can see sort of graduation of colour as it cooks. For mackerel, we can have a little bit of this coralliness remaining. So I'm going to do most of this cooking. Now I'm getting some crispiness to the skin. You can see just a little bit of a golden edge. And then heat goes down and we'll turn over, adding a little bit of lemon juice in for seasoning. Let's get the fish out of the hot pan onto a plate. It can rest. For this recipe, it can be served piping hot, or it can be served back down towards room temperature. Both works quite nicely with the sort of the salad aspect of the ingredients. So we'll leave this just to rest briefly while we think about preparing and plating the salad. Final steps, just to finish the salad part. So we are going to mix together some of the radish. So let's just scatter that into our bowl, with a little bit of the pickled shallots. They're going to have a nice balance of acidity and sweetness, and then a little bit of our lovage, and that will form some base salad. And now we want to dress the plate. So let's start off by adding a little bit of our yogurt with dill onto the plate. We'll just provide a little space for that, and that little swoosh will allow some salad to sit on the plate as well. So our peeled beets, they can go on. We can add our heritage variety as well, and radish salad. The shallots in there. Nice contrast of colours. We've thought about the plate. The blue is going to show off everything nicely. One more piece of radish, or two. There we go. And then we can think about our fish. So that goes on. I've just drained the fish on a bit of paper just so it doesn't bleed onto the plate. I'm just going to finish the plate just with a little drizzle of oil, just some virgin rapeseed oil. And it's a good time just to say, make sure that the seasoning of those ingredients that we've put on there is as should be. And anytime anything is going onto a plate, make sure that you've tasted it before it arrives there. That gives you a sample of one of the demonstrations that we would do here at Leiths. All of the food that we cook, we send around to students to have a taste of, and we encourage questions. We encourage students to be inquisitive and to build their understanding through questions, through tasting, through the watching of skills in the demonstrations, and of course through the time that is spent upstairs in the kitchens with that hands-on practical aspect of the course. All of those elements give a balanced and varied education to students who come through the school.